Okay, so I am going to explain why I do not believe in God. Okay, I want to start with the very basics. So, there have been multiple religions that have existed that no longer exist. The Egyptians created a lot of different ideas that evolved, like, putting them in pyramids and embalming fluids and lots of very weird things that they practiced and believed in. It was very, very odd but interesting information. There have been goddesses, so people believe that there were different female gods, and that there are multiple gods, and then some people believe there's just one god. And you have all these different religions that now exist, and you have ones that don't exist anymore, and then you have atheism, and you have agnostics, which are different. Now, if it were, if we lived in a world where it was just like you had Christianity or you had atheism, it would be much easier to just talk about that because I think the person who is saying that there is a God would have more of an argument because there's their religion or there is nothing. But that's not the option. The option is there is their religion, there are tons of other religions, or there is atheism. Another reason I don't believe in God, it doesn't fit any of the senses. We cannot see, we cannot smell, we cannot taste, cannot hear, and we cannot physically touch this other being. I was gonna say human being, this other being that people call God. Okay, everything else I can think of has at least one thing that we can prove exists. Okay, even very small things we can look through microscopes. Gravity obviously exists. I shouldn't have to say that, but you drop something, it falls on the ground. That's feeling. So that's like a physical touch thing. We know gravity exists. So that's one of the other things. I know that there are people that believe in God because of personal reasons, obviously. Just as I could say the same with atheists. If we really wanted to, both sides could just bring feelings into the argument, to be honest. I mean, that's what a lot of religious people do. They bring in their books and what their personal experiences are like, why they believe in a God, and all these different things. I don't have a book, so I don't. I'm an atheist. I don't have an atheist handbook. If there is one, I've never read it. So, but yeah, I mean, I could bring my feelings or what my life experience has been in. That doesn't make it relevant. Truth is truth everywhere. 2 + 2 is 4 everywhere. In the United States, in the UK, in Africa, in Jamaica, everywhere it's something that's universal. Where religion is not something that's universal. If you live in an Islamic country, you were more likely taught that Islam was the correct religion. If you live in a more of a Christian religion, Christian household, Christian type country, then you probably believe in Christianity. If you live somewhere where they taught Hinduism, then you're probably a Hindu, etc., etc. If you were raised by atheists or agnostics, you probably weren't. It's possible they could have just left that for you to decide as you grew up, or they might have told you what their thoughts and ideas were, and then you became an atheist. So it's all up to the person. People are treated differently in different circumstances. In the U.S., if you say you're a Christian, that's fine, whatever. And for the most part, I haven't really had any issues with being an atheist. I don't hang around people that are negative just in general, so I've had no issues with that. In some places, being a Christian or being an atheist could both be considered very bad. If you lived in an Islamic country and you were going to tell your family that you were a Christian or tell them that you were an atheist, neither response typically would be something that would be good, and it could be very dangerous for you. Another thing that I've thought about, and I just saw a video talking about this a little while ago, it was about the concept of heaven and hell. So it depends on who you're talking to, because there are people that don't believe in hell, and there are people who believe in hell. And the people that believe in hell, what I've heard them say anyways, though they don't may not talk about hell that much, they think that their God is like all knowing and all good, and yet still created hell, or have continues to have hell exist, I guess is a better way to say it. I obviously don't believe in heaven, and I obviously don't believe in hell either. I don't see any evidence for either of those, or an afterlife at all, or reincarnation for that matter. But the idea of hell, it's not even something that scares me, and I don't think it scares many atheists either. It's just that, okay, if I got it wrong, and then there's an afterlife, and there's a heaven and a hell, and whoever I'm talking to, we'll assume their religion is the correct one, okay? So they're talking to me, they say there's a heaven, they say there's a hell. I don't see how I would be happy if that were accurate. I don't see how I would be happy in either circumstance. If I were in hell, obviously you're not going to be happy because it's this horrible thing that people talk about. On the other side, if I am in heaven and I know there's a hell, and if they had like a TV and you could like watch what's going on in hell or whatever, you know, that would also terrify me, because then you're having people that are being tortured and suffering for eternity, and you know, nothing comes of it. You don't come out of hell a better person. You don't come out of hell at all. You're there forever, and that's something that's scary. And that if you are in heaven and you say something, if you have questions, if you question God, if you say, I question God and I question what your morality is, or I question why you're doing different things, then I would imagine you would probably get sent to hell. And in some sense, that makes it sound like God is more of a communist dictator than somebody who's, you know, supposed to be all powerful, all knowing, all good, and supposed to have integrity and different things. And it sounds like that's a God without any integrity, not one I would clearly worship. But on the flip side, if a religious person says, well, I believe there's a heaven, I don't think there's a hell, I just think that people that are bad, just like Hitler or Stalin or Mao or anybody else like that, or Karl Marx or whatever, just to name a few, if they're like, well, those people, when they die, they're just dead, and that's it, and good people go to heaven, that way there's no suffering or anything. That's something I would say is it's still not realistic, but it does sound a lot nicer than the idea that there is a heaven and a hell. To me anyways. Now, I obviously, like I said, I don't believe there's a heaven, though. I don't see any light that's shining down or whatever. I don't think my spirit or soul or whatever goes up. I don't believe in the soul or spirit or anything like that. I don't believe in reincarnation or anything. So when it comes to that, I'm not spiritual or religious at all. Never have been. I don't see myself ever being like that. And I have a lot of friends, and I definitely have a lot of family members that are religious too. It's not really been something I talk about much. Most of my family that are religious are cousins. I have distant cousins that are Mormons and stuff, and then I have a lot of friends and people I know that are Christians. And I can say there's a lot of good things about Christianity as well. So in some sense, I kind of have a soft spot for Christians and for Mormons more than I do for other religions, even though I still think they're wrong. And my favorite author is a Christian as well. My favorite author is John Maxwell. He's one of them. I have several different favorite authors, but definitely in the top 3. And there's a lot of different people I like politically who are Christian as well. Like I like Andrew Klavan and Stephen Crowder and a ton of other people. So it's not like I have any hate or beef with people that are Christian. I don't hate on Christians. I know that there are bad Christians who, you know, they say they're Christian and they do things that are pretty bad, and then there's Christians who say, oh, those people aren't Christian. Well, the reality is they are Christian. Okay? The Fred Phillips family, as awful as they were Christians, okay? He believed in Christianity and stuff, and he was a Christian. He was a believer, and he said some horrible things that, Most Christians would be like, that guy was disgusting and I hate him, and please don't say that that has anything to do with my religion. Now, I'm not saying it has to do with how you practice, but the man was a Christian. He was also a Democrat, okay, if that makes you feel any better. And the same could be said about the Ku Klux Klan, okay? There's evidence that they were Christians as well as Democrats, okay? They were racist, they were anti-Semitic, they were horrible people. Okay, they still were Christians, regardless. Okay, Stalin was an atheist. I'm an atheist. Okay, I'm not gonna say, oh, like it was different. Don't just go. You know what? He was still an atheist. Okay, he was still a dick. So, okay, I don't like the fact that he was an atheist. Okay, but he was. So that's that. Okay, Mao was an atheist. Karl Marx was. Okay, there have been plenty of bad atheists. There have been plenty of good atheists. Okay, I like Christopher Hitchens. There's some things I disagree with him on. But I like Christopher Hitchens. I like Stefan Molyneux. I like Dave Rubin. I like lots of different atheists. Okay, I like Richard Dawkins for the most part. Yeah, this is kind of being a rant video, but I think that's pretty much it. Have I ever questioned my atheism? That's something you might be asking. Well, yeah. Okay, before I was an atheist, I wasn't really anything. I had no religious title or whatever. I believed there was some God, okay? Long, long time ago. That was before I was like, I don't know what you call me, but by the time I hit age 15, I discovered more things on YouTube, like George Carlin and Ricky Gervais and tons of other atheists. Not always comedians, but I heard a lot of atheists and could understand where they were coming from, and that and part of association will determine things as well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but that was enough for me. And a lot of music I like is okay. I have a very diverse range in music, and there's a lot of music I like that is not happy with religious people or religion in general. And I just like the music. I don't listen to any music that's Christian, but I do listen to music that says some pretty bad things about Christianity. I'm just being honest. Have I doubted it? Yeah, at one point I had a moment where I was questioning everything. This was my red pill moment because a lot of personal shit was going on, and it made me question politics, which is why I became conservative and not progressive anymore. And it did briefly make me question atheism, which is how I learned about socialism and communism, and that they were mostly atheist dictators, with the exception of Hitler, who was very, very complicated, to say the least. It seems like he believed in a god, but wasn't part of a particular religion. I guess the exception to the rule. So yeah, I did briefly question that, and I've had conversations with religious people as well, just to, I don't know, they like it. They like to, hear the other side, and I like to hear the other side as well. I think it's a healthy thing to do that. I don't see myself ever not being an atheist, though. The only way I could see that ever occurring would be like something really big would have to happen. Like, it couldn't be something that happened in my personal life, because that to me doesn't make sense. Like taking something personal, if somebody dies or I have like a near death or near life experience, if you like Fight Club, if I have one of those moments, that's not going to determine whether I join whatever religion, sign up for, or whatever. So if I were to ever become whatever, if I were to ever believe in a god, I need actual evidence then, okay? Like that episode of Rick and Morty with the big heads, and then suddenly everybody starts thinking they're real. I would need something like that, like something that is universally proven. Like if I physically were able to like see God and he came down, and it wasn't just me, so because otherwise I think I was going crazy. If God just showed up and was like, I'm real and this and that, but of course it's never gonna fucking happen. But I need something like that then, because that's just how it works. I need some very strong evidence. And I think that's it for this video. This was kind of longer than I expected, but I just wanted to blabber, so I hope you enjoyed that.